Diva, superstar, icon. Whitney Houston gave us some of the greatest songs of our lives. For 2 decades, she gave us good love and was every woman.
Let's discuss Whitney Houston. Okay, so first of all, before I even get started, I want to make this very clear that this is a sensitive topic. Okay, I understand to a lot of people and to myself that this is a real sensitive topic. So I've did my research and I did a lot of it. Okay, in this situation, I have 4 people. Michael and Pat Houston, Whitney Houston herself, and Robin Crawford. Okay? And I'm going to explain to you, once I get to Whitney, why I added Whitney amongst the group and why she's a topic, as well as why she's a topic. So let's first start with Michael and Pat Houston.
So here's the big question, Michael. Did you introduce her to drugs?
I would say, yeah. We did everything together. So once I was into that, then she followed suit. And
So was the first time she tried freebasing cocaine or cocaine, crack, whatever, are you the one who introduced you to her?
I think probably the first time she ever did it was probably, But you gotta understand, at the time, the 80s, it was acceptable.
Michael Houston, Whitney's brother, they had a close relationship when they were younger. And a lot of people tend to blame Bobby for the foundation of Whitney's drug addiction when it is really Michael Houston. He did an interview with Oprah where he admitted himself, which you saw, that, he was the one that started Whitney on doing drugs. He felt like it was acceptable. But I don't understand how you find it acceptable to allow your little sister to, 1, partake in drugs, and 2, partake in drugs with you. It has been a toss-up of names being thrown about who, how, where, when, and what took place regarding Whitney's drug addiction. There was an interview that was done by Whitney's drug dealer, and he threw a lot of names. He threw a lot of names in the pot. He said a lot of stuff that a lot of people don't know about. Which I'm not gonna add that clip here because I don't want those names to be thrown on this channel. But needless to say, he accounted an experience that he had with Whitney, where Whitney ordered drugs from the hotel. Maybe the week leading up to her passing away, she was rehearsing for the Grammys, and she ordered drugs from him, and the drugs, the dude basically took a pen and put the substance inside of a pen, and when Whitney was out signing autographs, he basically signed the autograph for Whitney. Whitney signed the autograph for him, and he left her with the pen that had the drugs in it. And that's how she would get her drugs, sometimes even in front of the camera. But this brings me back to, if you knew your sister was battling an addiction, why not at least try to get her some type of help, or, sit down with your mother. Don't wait till she's now passed away and all of this stuff to now want to admit that you were the one who, in actuality, start Whitney's drug addiction. I feel as though he let Bobby Brown take the heat for her drug addiction when in actuality it was really him. And he wasn't man enough to step up and even apologize or make known that it was really him. He just let Bobby Brown take the fall for it. And it left Bobby to sit up and have to explain himself to the media and people in the media, of course, regarding Whitney Houston. Now, needless to say, Bobby Brown isn't up here just based off of a few other facts that I found. But he wasn't in the clear either. He spit in Whitney Houston's face, amongst many other things. And I don't feel like I need to even discuss him because he really didn't hold any, stature like the rest of these people up here did. Especially when it came to this group, I also feel as though, it was a lot that was left unsaid that could have been said that they still refuse to talk about. Which leads me to Robin Crawford.
Much later that summer, she asked me to walk her to her home, and I did. And we just sat back on her sofa, on the floor, and it was that time.
What time?
A time to just get a little closer. So we did, and it was just like that.
Shared a
just
kiss.
a little closer.
Yeah.
Robin Crawford actually was the one to admit to the world that her and Whitney had a physical relationship. And as of recently, of this video being recorded, Rosie O'Donnell made a statement recently saying that Whitney was contemplating her sexuality. Whitney never contemplated her sexuality. I think Whitney knew what she wanted to do at an early age. And whether she was with Bobby or not, her relationship to Robin Crawford was never altered. Even though Robin went on to marry on her own and have her own kids and do her own thing, their relationship never really got phased. They talked all the time. They stayed in communication. The love was always the same, beyond them having to break up and beyond them having to cut off the physical relationship. Because Whitney grew older and she felt like in God's eyes that was not right. So she left Robin Crawford with a Bible and went on by her own merry way. But this is why I feel as though Robin Crawford is up here. Robin Crawford was a part of Whitney's life that Whitney never really let go. And I feel as though she got with Bobby, and most times when things were bad, she regretted at times leaving Robin Crawford alone. Or she regretted at times not really being able to show that love back to Robin and seeing what the possibilities were. Instead, she moved on the way she did, and she ended up with Bobby Brown, and she saw how that turned out, And even though it was nothing that she regretted in the end, she grew older to realize, I could have been getting treated better than this, And that's why she divorced him. I could have been getting treated better than this. I'm worth more than this. Robin Crawford put Whitney Houston on another pedestal. And I feel like that's what Whitney needed. But Whitney was making her own decisions. She was doing her own thing. Of course, people are able to claim what they want to claim. And Robin Crawford said publicly that, they weren't big on labels. They didn't care about what you were this and you were that. It was in the 80s, and you were either one thing or the other. And that's what it was. But at the time, Robin Crawford was openly bisexual. She didn't care whether it was man or a woman as long as they loved her the way that she needed to be loved. And eventually, when she met Whitney and gained the connection that she gained with Whitney, she noticed that that was what she wanted to do. And she went on to be happy and marry her own wife and, all of that stuff. after her and Whitney, you know. So this is why I think Whitney, you know, never really let Robin Crawford go. And I honestly don't want to say she failed Whitney Houston, but she failed Whitney Houston. Because, you know, there were times in Whitney's life where she could have stepped in and said, okay, well, Whitney, it's time for you to get it together. Like, it's time for you to, if she wasn't gonna listen to Bobby, I feel like she would listen to Robin. And Robin never took a chance to step in, which isn't selfish. Might I add, that's not selfish, because she got her own life. She moved on to do her own thing once Whitney said she didn't want to do it. So that's completely understandable. You know, when that type of stuff happens, you move on and give a person their space and let them do their own thing, and it is what it is. You know, and once you really let go, you let go. So I could understand, you know, Robin stepping back, but then again, sometimes somebody has to be the adult. And when you realize that the person that you're in love with or that you have love for is not being the adult, then you need to step in and be the adult. And even though they talked on occasion, you know, she really didn't do the things that I feel that could have potentially saved Whitney in the end. Now, just brushing back slightly, back to Michael Houston. Pat Houston, which I'm not mistaken is in charge of the Whitney estate, before I move on over to Whitney. Pat Houston is over the Whitney Houston estate. So, I don't know where they keep going with these documentaries and movies, and if they tell the truth the first time, Pat Houston don't have to keep making documentaries and keep signing on deals and all of that. And if that's what they need to keep the Whitney Houston estate running, then I think they need to start putting out Whitney's unreleased music so the fans can keep paying for Whitney's music. But that's all I have to say about Pat Houston. Moving on over to Whitney.
When you don't speak, you're living in the same home, and you stay right next to that person, and you're not saying a word for a week, you're just sitting there, and you just watch TV, and you go, ha ha. That's bad. Oh, yeah, I'm not. That's bad.
I can't imagine.
Yeah, it was like.
Because what? Are you just watching TV?
We're just, yeah.
And doing coke?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Are you smoking?
Smoking, yeah. No, we were lacing our marijuana with base.
With base.
Yeah. Yeah, we didn't want no crack. We didn't want no crack stuff. We weren't buying like $20 jumbles. Yeah. We were paying money.
I, as a fan, I love Whitney Houston. I love her down. Whitney Houston, in my opinion, is a part of her own problem. Well, was a part of her own problem. Because, you know, Whitney knew her talent. Whitney knew what she gave to black culture. She knew what she gave to society. She knew what she gave to the world. She knew where she came from. She knew how she was raised. She knew who she was raised around. So, for her to have allowed herself to get to some of the places where she allowed herself to go, and we've all saw the pictures, was a bit baffling. Like, you know, in her final days, it was good to see her, you know, looking the way she looked and sparkle. Like, she was really Whitney, and you could tell that this was Whitney in her 50s. Like, I loved this woman like I did. And I, as a fan, feel as though the fans are avoiding saying that Whitney Houston was part of her own problem. Even though it's easy to blame Bobby Brown, her brother, all of these people that was around her, it's easy to do that. But you also have to blame Whitney Houston. You know? And even though everybody loves her just as well as I do, she also was a part of her own problem. She was a part of her own downfall. You know, Whitney had to order the drug. She had to pay for the drug. She had to get the drug. She had to do the drug. So this wasn't just, you know, somebody putting the gun to her head to make her, you know, buy it or do it, or this wasn't somebody else fueling her to do it. No, Whitney was in charge of her own ideas, her own thoughts, her own feelings, her own actions. But I also have to raise the question, where does everybody else who was involved with the drug addictions come in at? Bobby Christina, the stepson, the person that found Bobby Christina, Bobby Brown Jr. Like, where does this, like, did they see Whitney do it, or what? Like, what? Where does this come from? Is it like a money thing, or is it like a fame thing, or what is it? But it's odd that most of the people in that family struggled with that. It's really odd. But yeah, that's it for this week. Next week, we have Aaliyah. And that's going to be an interesting conversation. So you definitely want to be back. Thank you for watching. And don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, share. Hit that notification bell. When you want to know my videos are being uploaded, hit that bell right there. And I'll be back next week for the same time to drop more information. Okay?